welcome some of our distinguished guests. If I call your name, you're here, please stand and be recognized. I'm just going to roll right through the list. First, I want to tell you our founders who are responsible for creating the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce. Our founder-in-chief, past president, former Senator Lou Leon Guerrero. Our former Senator Tony Sanford. Dr. Mary Okada. Denise Mendiola. Doyen An Marato, Summit Chair-in-Chief. Dr. Anita Borja Enriquez. Jackie Marati. Lorraine Okada. Monica Guzman. And myself. And we are joined this year by our current board members, former First Lady Joanne Camacho, Pika Fajarin, Pam Kanata, Heidi Ballendorf, Lena Leon Guerrero, Trisha Solis, Kathy Scrow, and Meg Taikinko. These are the ladies in charge, the people who are making it all happen. I'd also like to welcome our distinguished guest, Senator Regine Bisco Lee of the 34th Guam Legislature. And also welcome former Senator Tina Munoz Barnes. Thank you for joining us. So Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce, if you don't know about us, today's a good day to find out. You'll be talking for sure. We are so proud to present this in partnership, present High Tide in partnership with the Dusit Thani Hotel and Guam Music Inc. We all have our other major sponsors, Jones and Guerrero in the house, United Airlines, and SBDC. I'd also like to call on, so if you got a badge and you have the orange sticker, you're a member, can you please stand up? Can you stand up, orange stickers? These are our members. These are the lifeblood of the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce. They're what keeps us going through their dues, their hard work, and support. Take a look around you at these ladies. If you didn't stand, I'm going to remember each one of your names, first of all. Second of all, find one of the ladies with the orange stickers. Find a member. You have to know one of us and talk to them and learn more about the Women's Chamber and why you should join. I'd also like to give a special acknowledgement before we begin to, this is the year that I came in as president in January, but this High Tide Summit, we really came in under the leadership of our immediate past president, Siska Hutapea. Siska, I'd like to acknowledge you. Between her and past President Liu, very high heels to feel. So with that, I'm going to be introducing the founder of High Tide in just a second. But before that, I'd like to introduce the founder, as I referred to, our founder-in-chief, past President Lou Leon Guerrero. She's had many careers. She's been a nurse. She's been a public servant, a senator. She's now the CEO of a billion-dollar bank, Bank of Guam. And between all of that, raising her beautiful children and her grandchildren, she found time to rally up some of the most passionate, influential women on Guam and start up this little thing called the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce. I think that all of you are familiar. I think we all know Lou in the community. She really doesn't need much more introduction. I think she's touched a lot of our lives in a special way. So without further ado, I'd like to call past president, former Senator Lou Leon Guerrero, to give a few marks about what the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce is. Thank you.
Sizuz Masi Vanessa. Half a day and welcome to the High Tide Summit, our Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce annual leadership retreat. I don't know about you, but I am excited to be here. I am thrilled to be here. I am jumping out of my skin with anticipation. I am extremely eager to hear the stories of these great women leaders in their own industries, CEOs of their companies that will be speaking to us. I want to know how my bank, the Bank of Guam, can be more accessible to you through social media. I want to know if the strategies and work we have done in rebranding our bank is going the right way. I am sure that you are here like I am because we have a personal and professional interest in what this High Tide Summit will do for us. I know that we will take back with us the stories told here and the experience we will have that will encourage the confidence, the courage, the stamina, the strength that we need to start, sustain, and expand our businesses. This day will not only strengthen our skills, it will also incite our creative juices and energy to do more and to realize even more that we are important players in our business community. Because you see, we are. We are the catalyst and the substance of our socio-economic community. We create jobs, we increase payroll, we provide services and products that our community needs, we enhance our GDP, we are consumers and providers for consumers, we work hard, we are better administrators, we are successful CEOs, and we do all this while we raise our children and run our families. I am constantly amazed at what we as women can do and have accomplished. So I leave you with this message. Never underestimate your power as a woman. Never underestimate your passion as a woman. Never underestimate the sensitivity you feel for others. Never underestimate the sound of our voices when we unite together to say, we know we are right in working to achieve our visionary sight. And to do it even better, we need to show unity and be one in the sound of our voices. This is the very reason that I and many of our local women trailblazers in business community founded the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce. I invite you to join us and become a force in shaping the landscape of our socio-economic environment. I want to especially congratulate our Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce President, Vanessa Williams, for her leadership in making this High Tide Summit a reality. I especially want to thank Doyon Morato, the members of our GWCC board, and many of the members of their commitment in making this happen. And most especially, I would like to thank all of our sponsors who, without their generous financial and in-kind contributions, we would not be able to have pulled this off. Are you ready? Are you fired up? Ready to go? All right, let's go.
Thank you, Past President Liu, for that awesome introduction. Before I introduce the Master of Ceremonies, our Creator-in-Chief, I have one more housekeeping matter. If you will look on your table, you have a form. It's SBDC training registration form. As Past President Liu, this would not be said, it would not be possible to have this summit without the generous donation and support of our sponsors. SBDC has been one of those major sponsors, and in lieu of their annual conference, they joined forces and partnered with us. So if you could do us the favor and gesture of filling out those forms, we'd greatly appreciate it. You also have a sign-up list on your tables. Okay, now to the fun stuff. I would like to introduce the founder of High Tide. GWCC, the Women's Chamber, I'd like to say this was our baby, but it's not. We were, like a lot of great women, we collaborate and we partner with other great minds, and that is what we did for High Tide. Stacy Cracher-Tom was the founder, creator of High Tide, and she is the CEO of the Bungalow PR. Stacy is a Guam girl. She's a woman that hails from Guam, and she has decades of experience, is a veteran TV producer, in media. She's a consultant, and she's brought all of that experience back to Guam, and we appreciate that very much. Through her years, she's had access to many people that have experience in branding, consulting. She's been able to pull that talent, and that was the genesis for her to curate all these speakers and combine them into High Tide, a Creative Women's Summit. Stacy, it's been such a pleasure. The Women's Chamber, we found one of our own in you. And also Kelsey Harkin, who's joined her right-hand woman. Another sister that we are so happy to welcome to our familia. I will let Stacy introduce the speakers and talk more about High Tide because this is her baby, but we are so glad to have found a sister in her. So please join me in welcoming the founder and creator of High Tide, Stacy Cracher-Tom.
Oh my God. Thank you, Jesus. No, seriously, I'm so emotional looking out at all of you because this has been in my head for such a long time. I feel like, being born and raised on Guam, I am a product of this place, our island, and that has been such a key part of making today happen. I didn't even think of that part when I was thinking of bringing this together. Being born and raised here, I just feel like all the women who came before me, who raised me, my Nina, my aunties, my cousins, my family, I'm so grateful. And I had this idea, and I had to do the coconut telephone to get an email of somebody who was like in the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce. And I have to give a shout out to Karen Gale, who finally got me Doyen's email. And then it was just, I looked back and our first email was January 21st last year. So almost a year, we almost did it within a year. But honestly, this happened within 8 weeks, all of this. We rallied money, we rallied support, and I have to steal Lou, I have to steal your quote where she says, "Men do things, women get things done." So, that is for sure. We had to get those Montserrat, those leaves that are on your table. We had to go to Uncle John and Daddy Doe to get those, and we had to go to EPAN to get some other stuff. It has taken a village to make this day happen, and it has been a totally crazy uphill, sideways battle. But I would not have wanted to do it with anybody but the collective of women, the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce. Everybody on the island who rallied to make this happen is truly, it just makes me so proud of our people and who we are and what we represent. So thank you. This is my gift back to you. So basically today, I feel like I've been so fortunate. I left Guam and went to college, and since then I worked as a producer and spoke at many women's events and asked to be on panels and so forth. And all along the way, I was just meeting so many amazing, inspiring women. I kept putting them in my pockets, and I feel like I've run out of pockets, and it was time to pull them out and pull out a few of my favorite to kick it off. And so that's what I've done today, is brought you some of my favorite women, both professionally and personally, who I feel so honored that they flew far across the Pacific to be here today for this day. You guys are going to be super pumped. You might want to get tissue after lunch. I'm just going to give you a side note. And essentially, thank you so much to our sponsors, and we're just going to get this going. I met our first speaker while I was on the board of directors of a Step Up Women's Network. We basically mentor and work with underserved girls, and it's one of my favorite organizations in LA. And she was doing a vision board workshop, and I was a mentor, and so we were vision boarding with our mentee, and you know, she was doing this great presentation, and then all of a sudden, my mentee said, well, why don't you create a vision board? And I was like, yeah, okay, I guess. And I was single. I didn't have a baby. All my other friends were married. They all had babies. I was kind of like on the bitter bus. And Jess said something in her, you know, workshop that day. She said, okay, you guys, so wait, oh, so you want a car? Well, that's great that you have a car on there, but what kind of car do you want? Do you want a Mustang, and do you want it to be green? Well, then you need to find a picture of a green Mustang and put that on your vision board, because we need to manifest specific things so that they will happen. And I was like, oh my God, I got to find a super hot guy. I need to find a super hot baby. I need to find a family. I need to like do that. And so I was like looking at all the magazines. Finally, I tore out kind of a guy that was okay and kind of a baby. And a month later, I met my husband. And then a little bit after that, I met my baby. And so I kind of think she kind of knows stuff. So I'm going to just say that our next speaker is one of my favorite change makers on earth. She is CEO of Talk to Jess, a consulting firm. She is Dove's global self-ambassador. I'm sorry. No sleep. She is Dove's global self-esteem ambassador. Thank you. And she was a consultant for one of my favorite projects. She was a consultant for Mattel's Barbie's 3 new body types, Body Evolution, which is a big deal. So I feel like Barbie looks like women in this room now, thanks to Jess. Thank you, Jess. So I'm going to, without further ado, introduce Jess Wiener, and thank you to United Airlines for sponsoring this. Jess, please come join us.
So happy to be here. Stacy, I forgot about that vision board session. Well, clearly I'm magical, so get ready to manifest today. I too just want to thank the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce and certainly United Airlines for getting us here, and all of the great sponsors and participants. But most of all, before we even start, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank you for taking the time and the commitment and the dedication to come today and to be open to what you're going to learn and experience. And my intention for today is to be of service to you. I'm going to share a little bit about my background, a little bit about the journey that I'm on and the work that I do. But I've been to probably a zillion women's conferences. And one of my biggest pet peeves are keynotes that don't leave me with specific action steps. Anybody else feel the same way? Like, I love great speakers, but when I have come to kind of soak in knowledge, I want something I can take away with me for today. An exercise that we're going to do together as we get going. So we're going to get very practical and tactical, and I would love to hear from you throughout the conversation. So please, even though I'm up here, raise your hand so that if you've got something to say or you want to share, I'd love to hear your voice in this room. So, in spending our time together this morning, one of the things that I've spent most of my life doing around the world is talking to women about self-esteem and confidence, which sounds great, right? Because most people that I speak to always want to have higher self-esteem or more confidence. Is that true of this room? Okay, so what I want to talk about, though, is the really messy journey that it takes to get there. Because I don't believe that confidence is the destination in life where you get to and you land and that's it. I believe it's rather a manner of traveling. It's how we get there. It's the relationships we form with ourselves and with others. It's the way we show up in our work and in our lives and in our businesses. It's the way that we believe in ourselves as women, and we believe in the men in our lives. They're incredibly important as well to have in this conversation. But the longest and most serious relationship you're ever going to have is with yourself. So let's start there, shall we? That's me at 12, rocking a really hot Jufro happening right there. Just want to say that Jess at 12 would never have imagined that she'd ever be showing that picture again to the rest of the world. But I do that because I want us to think about that little girl inside of you, the one perhaps you don't bring out to play anymore, the one who had those dreams, right, of what you wanted to do. So when I was 12, outside of wanting to rock a popped collar and some waterfall bangs, That's because I grew up in Miami and it was Miami Vice days, so that was the thing, right? I was rocking the pastel jacket from Sears, that I do remember. So at 12, I wanted to be 3 things. I didn't want to be a lizard, but I wanted to be a lizard trainer. I was pretty sure that that was a real occupation, and if it wasn't, I was going to go and make it so. I wanted to be a romance novelist. In fact, I wrote my first novel at 9, which clearly was the predecessor to me making women's dreams come true about men and babies. But I loved romance. I loved the stories of romance. But as a little girl with that hairstyle, I didn't see a lot of myself reflected in the media that I consumed, right? So I wanted to tell those stories. And of course, because I was obsessed with romance, I wanted to be Rob Lowe's girlfriend. So cute. He's still pretty cute. So that's what I wanted to be when I was 12. And when I looked out at the world, I didn't always see stories that reflected the kind of girl that I was or the kind of woman that I wanted to become. And I got really curious, actually. I wanted to understand who was making those choices in media and culture to tell the stories that they were telling about women. How come I could go to school every day and see and meet incredible women and coaches and teachers, and I had wonderful women in my life, but I never saw their faces or their stories represented in the media? Can anybody else relate here? So I got really curious, and then that ended up informing my whole journey in this life. And then I found this show. You remember this show? All the young ones are like, what? Is that on Nick at Night? But this is The Facts of Life, y'all. All right? I'm going to give a lot of 80s shout-outs today because clearly I'm of that generation. But, I mean, I related to everybody perhaps except Blair. So for me, it was about body shape and size and hair color because all I saw was blondes on television. I never saw a curvy, curly-haired brunette, right? So I was like curvy like Natalie and sassy like Tootie and smartass like Joe. But I didn't see other stories out there. So I set about creating my own. I've been a social entrepreneur since I was 20 years old. I went to college for 3 degrees that were guaranteed to make me no money in life. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for believing in higher education despite that. I have a degree in theater, I have a degree in women's studies, and I have a degree in classics, which basically bought me a year of studying in Greece. So I don't know how you make a career out of that, but I have. And what I have done is now take all of those passions that I have created and turn them into a profit. Found a way to find my place in culture and business that allow me to exercise my gifts in a way that I can give back and pay the rent. So that's what I'm hoping throughout the day to help impart to you in whatever small or large form I can, are creative, entrepreneurial ways, no matter where you are in your world or your life or your career or your business, to take who you are and to add that value into places that make you feel good about yourself. Because I mentioned confidence isn't something you buy at the store or you get, from somebody else. This is about a journey with yourself and about yourself. So I've spent the last 22 years talking to women and girls and families about confidence. And I've been able to travel all over the world, and I can tell you whether they're wearing burqas or Birkenstocks, women have the same issues at heart of what they care about, and we know that. And so what got me really inspired was I had the privilege after a period of time to get into the room. And then not only into the room, but at the table. So now I feel it's my privilege and opportunity while I have a seat at that table to bring in the voices who are still not represented in that room. And that is what my whole business has been founded on now, is how do we create a more diverse and inclusive business culture where the bottom line is about helping people and making a profit. And I think those two are not mutually exclusive. So along my way, I have talked a lot about confidence. And when I Google the word confidence, this is the image that comes up. It's a lot of leaping in Google. There's a lot of rock climbing, and there's a lot of leaping from surface to surface. But what I know to be true is that confidence is earned over time. And it's earned through the relationships and experiences that you already have. sorry, even though I know we have an amazing beauty bar here and I love it, but confidence doesn't come in a lip gloss. And it's not only in a high heel, and it's not about 10 pounds from now, and it's not a husband away or whatever away. It is about how we as women understand our own autonomy and power as a person. We challenge family systems or cultural systems that have challenged us to feel limited or to feel less than. And it is in finding a collective voice. I heard that so much just in the introductions, right? I remember talking to Stacy about this conference at least a year ago when this was just a beginning idea. And I think everybody here from the states who've come to support this today, we would come in a heartbeat wherever she tells us to go, because we believe in the power of collaboration. And so for me, confidence is also not a solo job. It's something that is reliant upon each other. But it's not necessarily something, unfortunately, that we can give as a gift. And I think every parent or grandparent in the room can understand that, right? You look at your child or your grandchild, you look at somebody you love, and you want them to feel that confidence. You want them to see their beauty. You want them to see their intelligence. You want to give it to them and inject that into them as much as you can, right? And the hardest thing I've had to tell parents across the globe is that while I know that is your desire, the work to do is their own. And that is a conversation I'd like for us to think about, because that doesn't mean we're hands off and it doesn't mean we don't care, but it means we take these grandiose ideas of what confidence really is and we break them down to size. And we talk about all the tangible things that we can do to make ourselves feel better. And that's going to be one of the exercises that we do in a moment. So in my journey as a social entrepreneur, trying to find the places to make change, my first partnership was 11 years ago with Dove. And we started the Campaign for Real Beauty. If you remember that advertisement campaign, women in their underwear, on the billboards. That was unheard of at that time, to put a woman above a size 2 in a public advertisement campaign. And when I joined forces with them, my role was to create the curriculum that's now demonstrated around the world. We've reached 20 million girls with an hour of self-esteem programming, including yesterday. We can add Guam to our list. So we did 2 workshops yesterday. Thank you, Mary, and to the Guam Community College. And we were able to do a train the trainer for your community for educators, and we were able to work with about 50 girls yesterday to bring this curriculum there. But for me, as an outsider, when I first joined with Dove, I looked at them and went, what does this soap company want to do with women's self-confidence? And it's a good question to ask. And I spent a year talking to the executives at this company before I joined forces. And what I can tell you over this period of time is that what I've learned was very powerful in this journey to confidence is not only do you find your allies, but you need to find your accomplices. And I heard that quite a bit in the conversation about the Bank of Guam. How can businesses be better of service to their constituents and to their consumers? And that is absolutely Dove's connection point to consumer. We're driven by the connection between generations of women and about how do we help the next generation feel better about themselves. How do we give them the tools, the real tools, not just an advertising campaign, but how do we work in their communities? So my work with Dove then translated about 6 years ago to being part of a very secret, at the time, team that got together to figure out how to fix Barbie. So Barbie had some challenges. Barbie certainly, although probably, show of hands, how many people played with a Barbie growing up? Yeah. So Barbie has a 97% awareness rate in the world. Outside of Coca-Cola, there's not another brand that has that much global awareness. Yet Barbie doesn't look like anybody sitting in this room. So the power, including myself as a little girl, so I tried to cut her hair, I tried to curl her hair early days. So I was really obsessed with those waterfall bangs. And I remember thinking to myself, if I looked like this, then my life would be better, right? If I looked like this tall and thin and blonde and light-skinned girl, then my world would be better. People would like me, boys would like me. That was the focus at the time. But it was also just about being able to fit in. And when I got to the Barbie team to talk about the impact of the doll and what it looks like around the globe, what I told them was, it's now not even a responsibility, it's a moral imperative for us to represent and to reflect the girls of the world. They don't look only like this. Some do, and that's okay, but a lot don't. And where do those girls pick up a doll that finds and they find themselves in that. So we've created, as Stacy mentioned, 4 new body types, 7 new skin colors, 22 eye shapes, and 24 hair textures for the doll. And last year alone, a company whose stock, this is public knowledge, was down quarter after quarter for about 13 straight quarters, had a 44% increase in sales globally by changing the image of that doll. So that power didn't come from me alone, by far. It came from a group of committed, by the way, women inside that organization who sat around and said, how do we make this make business sense, and how do we make this make sense for our children, and how do we put those two worlds together? And now that we have a successful business case for that, we can now take that and leverage that story to other brands to help inspire them to look for all of the ways where they're not inherently matching where culture is going. So for me, confidence is not the jumping from rock to rock. It is about this long and windy road that oftentimes you take alone. Sometimes you go down this journey and you don't know where the end point of the destination is. And oftentimes, for anybody in here who's an educator, a parent, an advocate, a mentor, you know that instilling confidence is all about planting seeds in a garden you will likely never tend to. It is about trusting that that will be cultivated and grown, and planting what you can where you can in all of your interactions. So for me, confidence is really about this journey of self-discovery. Do I think one doll or one bar of soap or a campaign is going to change the world? No. But I think collectively, when you introduce that idea, and then the next person does, and the next person does, and the next business does, and then you have an amazing conference like High Tide, where you get to gather together and see your community here, and you can talk about the things that you want to change. It's that collective process that builds consciousness and confidence. So the outcome, we live in the world where we're very outcome driven and we're very perfectionist driven. I'm sure I'm talking to my fellow type A's in the room right now. But I think that over time, what we can learn to do is to trust in the process of growth and discovery and not freak out every time we have a failure. Because I've just told you 2 selective experiences that have worked in my 22 careers. I could spend the next 4 hours telling you all the things that didn't work. And that's everybody's story. That's everybody's story you're going to hear up on the stage today. That's everybody sitting next to the room. And the more that we can learn to accept that, the better we can move on about the business of kicking ass. So let's do that. So I'm going to go to the exercise part of this program now, because one of the things that I know to be true after all this time doing work on myself and work in communities and work in business is that there is a process to creating and cultivating confidence. And it starts with an intention. It starts with a vision. So today together, maybe you've done this before, and if you haven't, I'm excited to introduce this to you. We're going to create individually a vision, values, and mission statement for yourself. Because as Stacy mentioned in that vision board workshop, I was very specific about when you put something out into the world, when you're sharing that with the universe of what you want to create, you've got to be specific, because I have a very special story to share about vision. The person who taught me about vision boards almost 30 years ago was an amazing spiritual teacher of mine, and she said to me that one day she was trying to manifest a green Jaguar. She wanted a car. She wanted a green Jaguar. And every day she wrote about that in her journal. And then she learned how to vision board. And every day she wrote about that on her vision board. But she never actually, like Stacy's story, put an exact picture to her message. So one day she shows up at the front step of my house and she's crying and she's holding a box. And I'm like, I don't know, did a pet die? What's happening? I don't know what's in the box, what's going on? And she hands me the box and she says, open it. And it's a gift from somebody. It was Christmas time. It was a gift from somebody. And it was a coat. And it was green. And the tag on it was a Jaguar. And she says, my vision board didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work. I asked for a green Jaguar. And I said, at any point did you ever put that it was a car that you wanted? Because the world responded. It gave you a green Jaguar. Just wasn't expecting it to be some coat that I think her aunt from Topeka sent her. She wanted this car. And so for me, the lesson was born about specificity. You say you want success. You say you want confidence. In what area? What would that look like for you? What would that feel like for you? What would that taste like and sound like for you? Right? The more granular that we can get, the more specifically you can learn, hey, maybe that's actually not what I want. I'm just saying it because that's what I feel like I have to say as a woman. Or maybe it's more so, hey, this is really what I want, and now I'm going to do everything in my power to try and get it. So we're going to talk about what your vision is, and then we're going to talk about the values you hold dear that bring you closer to that vision, and then we're going to share our mission. And one of the requisites for this exercise is that I'm going to ask for brave souls to stand up and share their experiences in this room. Because the other thing that I've learned along my way in confidence is that the more that you can share with like-minded and like-aligned people, the faster you will be to manifest what you desire. And I believe that this room today is exactly that. So we are going to do that for each other. So in front of you is a sheet that we helped to create to make this pretty easy for today. It looks like this. It has vision, values, and mission on the front. And right now, don't work ahead yet for all those type A's. We're going to start with just vision. And these are the questions that I'd like for you to consider. When you get out of bed in the morning, what drives you to get out of bed? What is your big picture view of the world? Right? What is it that when you put your feet on the floor and you start getting going, what is it that drives you? For some, it may be your family and the fact that there's probably a child begging for breakfast. But for others, I want you to think about you personally, whether you're a mother or not, whatever stage or place you're at in your life, I want you to think, what is your individual big picture view? What gets you out of bed? What helps you guide in all of your decisions? Vision is a very personal thing. A lot of us get our vision from experiences we've had in childhood or out in culture along the way. But oftentimes, a lot of us haven't thought at all about what our vision is. We may be replicating the vision we think we're supposed to have, or we've been told we need to have. So the other thing I'd like to say, everybody, is please don't be hard on yourself if you find any part of these exercises challenging today, or if you find yourself meeting yourself going, I don't know what my vision is, or, oh my God, who am I? I don't have a vision. You're totally fine. This is just an opportunity for you to get to learn a little better about yourself, okay? So I'm going to give you about 90 seconds, 2 minutes. This is very gut-related, stream of consciousness. What is your vision? And you can answer any of these questions in those couple of sentences, or you can just start to rattle off what drives you every day. What is your big picture that you're going for in your life right now? What gets you out of bed and gets you going every day? So let's take about a minute or so to write down as much as you can about your vision as you understand it right now. I wish we had some good music to play. I don't know if we do. I'll just hum a few tunes. I'm just kidding. Okay, let me ask for maybe 2 amazingly brave volunteers that might want to share out what their big picture vision is for themselves in the world right now. Where's my first brave soul? Yes, in the back. Thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind standing. Wonderful. What's your name? Janine. Perfect. Oh, Denise, so sorry. Oh, or not that at all. Third time's a charm. Janice. Awesome. Okay. Please share with us. Amazing. Oh, hold on. My junior Oprah is coming to you right now with a microphone.
You get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car.
Sorry, that was so beautiful. Janice, please say that again.
All right, okay. God gave me a desire to bring kindness and inspiration to people that I come into contact with every day, and I manifest that by smiling a lot.
Excellent. And Janice has the perfect example of where we're going to head and the how. It's okay if you don't have your how yet. If you just have your vision of what are you going for right now, what gets you out of bed, that's great too. Thank you, Janice, for sharing that. Who else wants to share? Super powerful. All right, we got one. Perfect. Thank you.
Annie does. Okay, my sister made me do this, but I'll say it anyway.
Thanks, sister.
Ever since I was little, I've had to get up to work out. I was on swim team. So now, every morning, even on a Sunday morning, I get up to work out. boot camp, tennis, paddling. And then the other thing that gets me out of bed is coffee.
Got it. You're very practical on that answer. Can I dig with you for a second? The vision about getting out and working out, what's a benefit for you for that? Why do you keep doing that?
I think it puts me in a good mood. Because if I didn't do it, I don't think I could get out of bed. So it puts me in a good mood. If I don't work out, then I find a way to get a workout in sometime.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a commitment because there's a payoff, because you feel physically and mentally better about it.
I also join a lot of teams. So I'm on a paddling team, so we have to get up at 4:45 in the morning. I'm on a tennis team, so we have to practice together. And I'm on a boot camp. I had to lead it this morning, and I was so nervous because I didn't do the right cones, and everybody's like, I think this is too short. And I'm like, too bad, just go.
Remind me not to give you my email, because I don't want to get signed up for any of those teams. No, thank you for that. Okay, so we've got, the vision about who you're supposed to be in the world from a kindness perspective. We've got the practical, everyday element of getting up with the vision to make your life better, to be accountable to a group of people as well. Can I have one more, please?
So my vision is turning my pain into purpose. And that comes from,
That's okay. Take a breath. We got you.
my husband died 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago. And so I'm now on a journey to help others with their own broken hearts, and to know that there's still so much to life, even when you lose the other half of you. And so that's what I wake up to every morning, is what can I do and how can I help one broken heart at a time.
Excellent. Hold on. What's your name? What's your name?
Darlene.
Doreen?
Thank you, Darlene.
Darlene, I'm going to get this right on the 4th or 5th try. First of all, thank you so much, incredibly so much, for breaking the seal on our tears this morning, and for being so beautifully honest. And that kind of drive, while I'm so sorry that that is your drive right now, I am so certain that what you are creating in the world is going to be magnificent, and already is. So our visions, these 3 examples, are actually perfect. Thank you, God. So they're perfect because they're individual to who is speaking them. So please do not compare or despair across the day when you hear stories from speakers or other people in the room, because everybody is walking a path in their life to their own journey of confidence, and it starts with this vision. So I'm so appreciative of the 3 varieties of visions that you've heard right now, and please know that yours is enough. Whatever you are writing right now for your vision is enough. If it gets you, if you feel that sizzle inside when you've written it down, that's your vision. That's what we're going for right now. So now I wanted to go to the next section of the exercise, which is about the values that you hold most dear. Whenever I have encountered in the companies that I work with or the organizations that I support, whenever I have encountered people in conflict, it is because their values are at conflict. Oftentimes in organizations or family systems or friends, when we get the most hurt, it's because somebody has stepped on our values. But see, we live in a culture that often doesn't talk about what we value. We don't, and when we do, we get kind of sideways looks, right? But we don't walk around and say, I don't say to my friend who shows up late for lunch repeatedly that I value timeliness, because that feels like respect to me, right? And we don't say to the friend who says, I promise I won't tell anybody, and who does, that I value honesty and commitment, because that means trust to me, right? So there are things that you've grown up with in your families based on your religious beliefs, your practices, your cultural experiences, or your experiences in the world that have created a value system for you. But what often happens is when those value systems are at conflict with your work or your spouse or partner or your children or your friends or however they show up, we can often kind of crumble, thinking like somehow our values aren't as important, or perhaps they have to be shifted. And the thing about values is that they can shift, and they do shift. Think about what you valued at 16 perhaps versus 60, or 14 versus 44, right? Your values are different because your life is different. So what I want to do right now is take a values pulse check for you about the things that you most value in your life, that for you, and listen closely, are non-negotiable. These are your bottom lines. These are your bottom lines when you're thinking about your life choices. They're your bottom lines perhaps in your business when you're considering a job opportunity. Perhaps they're just values that you've learned the hard way in your life by getting hurt. There was a beautiful participant in our workshops last night who talked very much about transforming, similarly, pain into purpose and understanding the people who've hurt you in your life. Oftentimes, again, that hurt comes from values that have been violated. So, for this next section, I want you to think about what in your life is non-negotiable right now. How do you identify? Those values are what makes you stand out in the world. When I'm going to talk about a potential job candidate or when I'm going to refer somebody, I'm going to speak about them. Our values create our reputation. They're how people learn about us. And then we live into those values. So I want you to consider some of these questions. Perhaps, what's your daily work anchored around? Maybe some of you are working in your value system right now, but maybe some of you aren't, and that's part of your frustration, is that you're working in a system or a space or a community that isn't valuing what you also value. So think about this from a number of different areas, but the biggest one that I want you to think about is the first question, which is, what concepts or beliefs do you hold most dear to you? Now again, you could probably write a book about this. I'm asking you to maybe think of the top 3 or 4 that come to your mind. And if you want to go one step deeper in this exercise, look at those 3 or 4, give yourself 30 seconds, look at them again, and say, could I throw any of these off the list? Because sometimes what I find is, just like a lot of things, we write down our values based on what we think we're supposed to value. Okay, in general, was values harder or easier to do than vision? Easier, excellent. So I'm going to look for 5 very rapid fire volunteers. Who's going first? Perfect, stand on up.
My values: honesty of words and authenticity of actions. That's number 1. Number 2, connecting with people and Mother Nature. Number 3, loyalty and commitment.
Excellent, beautiful and clear. And what's your name?
Kathy.
Kathy? I got that one on the first go. What I also love about values, when you hear them out loud, whether you know Kathy or not, but now you've heard her values, you're going to know how to engage with her today, aren't you? Authenticity of action, deed and word matching, right? It's really important. It's so funny we don't walk around and actually introduce what we value most when we're getting to know people. It would make our relationships so much less complicated. This is why I know I asked for 5, but I clearly don't value being honest, so I just lied to you about that. So I'm going to go to 3. But here's what I love about what you said about time, which is that how many of you in here are consultants or work freelance or have ever done that before in your life? And the biggest, and anybody who ever, has to, what now? Anybody who ever has to quote their worth for an hourly rate or a project rate, or you have to analyze your time, you know that kind of creeps in the fear of, like, am I worth this? I want this, but how do I value my time? And so what I appreciate about that is it's the number one thing I see with business women in particular is, how do you value your time? Whether you're freelance or not, in your job, as you navigate, as you manage others, time is money, but time also is a representative of our artistic process and our creative process and our giving. And it's the one thing women never seem to have enough of, right? We're running, looking to please, fill up. And so valuing time is important. It's partially why I hate being late for others and why I wasn't kidding or lying about my desire to have timeliness be a value that I work on, because every minute that I'm waiting for something else and I'm not constructively using my time is money out the door for me. So I think wherever these values line up for you, you might see a connection to your vision. So if your vision that gets you out of bed does not line up with your values, that's something to think about. Because oftentimes, I'm going to tell you now the secret before we get into the last exercise and I wrap up, which is this. Every time I've heard a woman tell me she feels ugly or stupid or fat or worthless, it is typically come because she's out of alignment with what she cares about in her life and how she's living her life. And the easiest thing for women to do is to pick apart their appearance as the reason why, instead of looking 1 or 2 steps deeper. Instead of looking and saying, wait a minute, this happens for me with a lot of young women. I feel horrible about myself. I'm fat, I'm ugly. Tell me about your friends. What are their values? Who are you spending time with? How is this manifesting? And usually what they'll say is they're spending time with people who don't value them, or maybe they have a partner that doesn't speak kindly to them, or they'll find a lot of reflection in their relationships that they're not handling, so instead it becomes all about their looks or their appearance. Or in work,
if they're unhappy with their job because they can't find themselves a way to be honest with their boss or their coworkers, or a way to ask for more money or better responsibility or a different position, it often becomes, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, this is never going to work out, this is not for me, right? So what I'm doing with this exercise truly is challenging your inner voice about your own confidence, because I would bet, while all of us in this room have struggles, what we also have at our disposal is an incredible amount of emotional intelligence and self-worth and self-love that maybe we haven't activated yet. So if your vision is not aligned with your values, you're not going to feel so great about your life. There's always going to be something off. By the way, no diet will ever fix that, right? So trust me in that there's a deeper layer here, which we're going to get to next, which is all about action. So I said to you that, you know, we wanted to have this one piece of action, and I mean it. I think just one piece of action can make a big difference in the world. So for this next section under the mission statement, mission is really about your action. So Janice kicked it off very lovely in the beginning when you said, I feel like I've had this vision given to me by God to be compassionate and kind in the world, and the way that I do that is I smile a lot at people, right? So it was a wonderful extension of her vision. And Janice, can you share with me one of your values in your section? So your values match with your vision, and your action is a result of that, right? So here's what happens. Oftentimes we have this great vision. I want to be the best entrepreneur in the world. I want this product to sell. I want my business to make $1 bajillion. That's my vision that gets me out of bed every morning. Then I value a whole bunch of things I haven't really thought about since high school that were given to me by parents or church or community or whatever. And then my action every day feels like a to-do list that never gets to done, right? So now I want you to think for just about 90 seconds with great hold music about your mission. Like, what is your action now that's going to get you to get more connected to your vision and your values? Maybe what's one thing, just spend time thinking of one thing you can do that would get you better connected to your vision or your values. Maybe you already do it, and that's great. Then affirm it in that list. But if you want to go a little bit deeper, maybe challenge yourself to say, what is something that I could be doing that I'm not doing, that I'm afraid of doing, that I would like to do? And this is where the magic happens, okay? This is Stacy's manifesting baby daddy moment right now. And also, I manifested a really amazing husband as well doing my vision board. You're going to hear from him later also. So it works. So here's the thing. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to, in your mission, also think about what you'd like to introduce and ask of the room. When you share your mission statement, you're also asking for support, help, acknowledgement of this next action step you're going to take. So take about 60 seconds, 90 seconds right now. Write down the one thing that you can be doing that will get you closer to your vision or your values. Be as specific as you can. Hold music, please. It's a little awkward right now, I'm not gonna lie. Don't listen to those lyrics, just focus on your mission. We've just become an after-school special right now. It's all good. A Lifetime movie. Okay, I'm going to put a close to the hold music. Okay, so who would like to share their action step, their mission right now to make those vision and values come to life more clearly? Yes, all right. We're coming with you, Mike.
So my name is Lena, and my action step is to stick to my calendar. Don't overpromise my to-do list. And this week was a really good example because I got asked to participate in hosting some of our guests. And I was trying to figure out, how am I going to get to my retirement board meeting? How am I going to do this? And I just said, I asked the retirement board committee members, can we reschedule this meeting? So we can't do everything we want to do sometimes. And,
Yeah.
you know, we got that to-do list, and I feel bad at the end of the day when I only have one check mark. So
Yeah.
I think I just need to stop overpromising.
So stop over-promising is huge, Lena. Can you share with me a value that you had as well?
Sure. Honesty was one of them, and doing an honest day's work and don't cheat.
And you were being honest with your retirement committee, weren't you, by saying, like, I can't make this meeting. Can we reschedule?
And they said, yeah, sure, no problem.
So here's the greatest gift in what Lena just offered us in her example, which is that this is something women, I know we get everything done, but we're also really bad at times for asking for help, right? Because that pride comes in about we should be doing everything, being that superwoman. What I love about this, remember that windy road, that messy road? Your journey to confidence and feeling better is about being honest about what you need and what you want. And oftentimes we need that help or support, whether it's to reschedule a meeting, whether it's whatever it is, but asking for what you need is so powerful, and it doesn't equal weakness. It's actually a wonderful strength. So thank you for sharing that. Can I have another volunteer that wants to share their mission? All right, we're coming to you in the back. With the beautiful flower, yep.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Fiona Chong. My mission statement was to feel the fear and do it anyway while planting seeds, because every seed holds the promise of harvest. So as you talked about earlier, you plant seeds in the garden, you may not see them, but at least you know you made a difference.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So start with from the beginning. So your mission statement, how does that match what you wrote down for your vision?
My vision was to create different forms of cash inflows so I never have to bring to my time and labor for money. So that way it would make time for me to do things I value, which is time for my daughter to teach her important lessons that she may not get in the academic world.
And then will you say your mission statement one more time, the first part especially?
Feel the fear and do it anyways.
Yes. So the vision is really clear. You want to create a different level of abundance in your life and to be more in alignment with your work. Your value is to have more time with your child. Your mission is to feel the fear and do it anyway. How many of us can relate to that? That's called courage. Courage is having fear and doing it anyway. And I love that you've been able to name it as such, because that's a great reminder. So maybe we need to replace our to-do list with our actions for today, and that's a great thing to take with. I'll take one more before I wrap. If there's anybody that would like to speak their mission into the room as we're manifesting good stuff today. Yes, perfect, right there.
So my mission, I struggled with this actually. So my mission is to be the best person I can be every day. The best mom, the best wife, the best colleague and coworker. And some days are going to be better than others. But I think at the end of the day, I just want to say, given all these circumstances today, I was the best that I could be. And I think for me and where I am in my life right now, this feels good. This feels like I can manage this, and this can be my mission statement for this part of my path.
I love it. What's your name?
Lindsay.
Lindsay. Thank you for helping me end on such a great note, Lindsay, because the idea that we could practice self-kindness, which is what I heard in that mission statement, which is being able to look at the day that you've lived today and say, I did a good job. I did this and this and this, instead of, I didn't do this. I shouldn't have eaten this. I didn't go here. I didn't get up and work out. I didn't, right? Do you have that voice in your head constantly running? It's the biggest confidence killer we have. So I love the idea that an action step can be to take stock in what you have done and what you have done well. And it's not just platitudes, you guys. It's literally rewinding the tape in your head to make sure you're focusing on the positive that will get you motivated to go back to that vision and those values and do it again the next day. So I hope it's illustrative in this example. And this is just something I hope you take with you and use it again. It's a daily practice for me. But be kind with ourselves is important. To be kind with ourselves is important. To be honest and rigorous in this work is important. To know that confidence, again, is something you can manifest. It's moments in time, much like happiness. They don't often last forever, but you can keep repeating them when you start to do this work. And know, I think, by hearing some of the brave souls that chose to share their story in this room today, Everybody's working on something. And today, why I'm so excited to be here is that you've got resources available to you now with the women in this room, the organizations present, and the whole intention of this conference is to help instill that confidence. The work is ours to do, but the home has been created for us to walk into today. It's been my pleasure to be with you this morning.